Shia LaBeouf has been in the spotlight since he was a kid. At just 10 years old, he started doing stand-up comedy as he sought to be an escape from the hostile environment he grew up in. LaBeouf would then go on to star in the Disney show Even Stevens for 3 seasons, until breaking into the film industry, starring in hits such as Holes, Disturbia, and of course Transformers. And for a while, the future for Shia looked incredibly promising. He was an up-and-coming movie star who had been in the spotlight long enough that everyone got familiar with the name and face. And then everything seemed to go downhill fairly quickly. Today on InformOverload, we're going to be talking about Shia LaBeouf, but before we do, make sure you guys smash that like button as it would really help us out. Alright, let's get into things. Odds are you've heard about the most recent allegations made against LaBeouf, who is being accused by his ex-girlfriend, singer FKA Twigs, of abuse, sexual misconduct, and more. FKA Twigs claimed during their year-long relationship from 2018 until 2019, LaBeouf would act erratically at times. At one point, he was driving recklessly without a seatbelt on and threatened to crash their car. Another instance saw LaBeouf allegedly slamming FKA Twigs against a car at a gas station, screaming at her and attempting to choke her before she agreed to get back in their car. Sources also claim at one point, LaBeouf told FKA Twigs he would drive around Los Angeles shooting stray dogs dead to get into the mindset of a killer for an upcoming role. Clearly these are not actions of someone who is mentally stable, and to no surprise, LaBeouf has admitted to being unstable in the past, relying on both drugs and alcohol, which he has attended rehab for. In regards to the allegations made by FKA Twigs, LaBeouf released a statement to the New York Times in which he said, I quote, "I have no excuses for my alcoholism or aggression, only rationalizations. I have been abusive to myself and everyone around me for years. I have a history of hurting the people closest to me. I'm ashamed of that history and I'm sorry to those I hurt. There is nothing else I can really say." He then followed up with, many of these allegations are not true, but he is willing to hold himself accountable for his past mistakes. Sources are now claiming that LaBeouf is in a 12-step program and is also getting therapy to help with his mental state. The sad reality is many of Shia's issues stem from his childhood trauma, and that have led to him relying on external sources, in this case drugs and alcohol, to cope with his issues. Now with that being said, it doesn't mean we should brush off the numerous allegations made against him, nor should people see this as taking sides. Instead, I think it's incredibly important to look at what led Shia to where he is today, and what needs to happen moving forward to ensure he not only protects himself, but anyone around him as well. And hopefully by sharing this story, it will help encourage those going down a similar path to seek help sooner than later. As previously mentioned, LaBeouf was a child Disney star, and unfortunately we have seen time and time again, they tend to grow up and end up getting into their fair share of trouble. But it seems it was more than just the pressure from the executives, agents, and managers that led to LaBeouf's career and life to get to the point it's presently at. For those of you who have seen Honey Boy, or at least heard about it, then you likely know it was about LaBeouf's childhood, which saw his alcoholic father abuse him. While in rehab, LaBeouf wrote the script as a form of therapy, and would later turn it into a film, which would premiere at the Sundance Film Festival. Aside from being positively received, it also gave the public a look at what Shia LaBeouf's childhood was like, and it was quite sad. The film's director, Alma Harrell, explained to Deadline back in 2019 that filming the movie was tough for him. I quote, "It was so painful. It was probably the longest 19 days of my life. It's been almost a year since we've been to Sundance and put this film out there for people, and it feels shorter than what it felt to shoot this film. Every day was like breathing in pain and breathing out love and trying to get through it." Someone who saw things firsthand clearly saw the pain that Shia was dealing with even as he grew up by telling the story of his life. And still, when asked about the recent allegations against him, Harrell said that LaBeouf's road to recovery is still not an excuse for his actions. And I'd have to agree with him there. Regardless of what someone is going through, your actions can never be justified if you hurt someone else, either physically or mentally. However, it seems this is an incredibly fine line. Because at what point does someone determine whether or not a person's actions can be attributed to their mental state and just their mental state alone? I'm sure there are plenty of people who are defending Shia, saying that due to his childhood PTSD and addictions, he shouldn't be at fault for his actions. But at the end of the day, you do need to hold yourself accountable for your actions, regardless of the situation, especially when it affects other people as well as yourself. In regards to Shia's situation, it seems there are plenty of factors that led to him being the man he is today. For example, while speaking with Esquire magazine, Shia recalled the time he witnessed his mother being assaulted when he was just 9 years old. I quote him saying, "I froze. The man ran out and my mom ran after him. A neighbor came running over. I remember he had a crossbow." Afterwards, LaBeouf remembered his mother talking with police. I quote him saying, "It was the first time I ever heard the word pubic. That's how she described his facial hair. The next day at school, I told some kid that his hair looked like pubic hair, and I remember getting in trouble. They never found the guy." It's believed this incident, on top of the pressure of being a child actor and of course his abusive father, led to LaBeouf heavily relying on alcohol to cope. In 2014, LeBeouf was arrested in New York after acting out at Studio 54 Theater and was charged with disorderly conduct, harassment, and criminal trespass. Reports claimed he was acting disorderly, yelling, and being loud. Following the incident, he voluntarily sought out counseling for alcoholism. Unfortunately, this was just the start of things to come. In 2017, LeBeouf had a few run-ins with the law, being sued $5 million by a bartender, and getting arrested after being involved in an altercation with an undercover officer. This incident also led to his racist rant being caught by TMZ, which led to LeBeouf feeling like he was at rock bottom. This is what led to him going to rehab, which is where he would learn of his PTSD and write the film Honey Boy. And although it seemed like following his rehab stint, LeBeouf was in a good place, with talks of him opening a free theater school in LA for those in less fortunate situations, unfortunately he would fall back to old habits. It's possible his 2018 divorce from his ex-wife of 2 years, Mia Goth, led to LeBeouf going back to the old habits, led to him being self-destructive and hurting those around him. Given that he would date FKA Twigs shortly after the divorce, it's starting to all make sense. The sad reality with Shia LaBeouf is that until he's willing to help himself, he's never going to improve his well-being. FKA Twigs initially wasn't going to charge him with anything, but after he refused to seek counseling, her attorneys explained she decided to move forward with the charges. All in all, it's awful that FKA Twigs, along with Sia and the others who have come forward with their own negative experiences in relation to LaBeouf, had to go through what they went through. Hopefully bringing light to the situation will not only make people aware and more cautious of LaBeouf, but will also encourage him to get the help he needs once and for all. As easy as it would be to dismiss LaBeouf and say throw him in jail, the reality is that won't be a solution to the problem. He'll continue with his destructive ways and this downward trend until he's ready to help himself. But until then, unfortunately, we just need to wait and contain Shia, whether that be in a cell or hospital, for him to take the steps to get clean once and for all. It seems he was almost there back in 2018, but unfortunately derailed. I'm not sure what it's going to take this man to change his ways, but I hope he gets the help he needs sooner than later, as I wouldn't want him to hurt anyone else around him or himself ever again. Now, as always guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one down below. Do you think Shia's past should come into consideration when speaking about his present actions, or are people trying to excuse his actions? Let me know below. For now, let's reply to some comments from the video. Top 10 celebrities caught lying on social media, part 3. Afro Betty said, if you can't trust celebrities online, then who can you trust? Your friends, your close friends, the people that you know in real life, that's who you could trust. Justin Graves said, how to tell if a celeb is lying, check whether their mouth is moving. Yeah, a lot of celebrities tend to lie a lot, unfortunately. That's just the way it is. I don't know, sorry. I'm not saying I lie a lot, I'm just saying in general. I'm not a celebrity either, so I don't know why I said that. Adam Filewood said, can I add Rebel Wilson is actually a lawyer as well? Didn't know that. Very cool. Rebel Wilson, a lawyer and an actor. Interesting. I'm an actor. Maybe I'll practice law. Anyways, guys, that's all for this one. Been your host, Jared Bronstein, and we'll see you soon.